Welcome back. Episode 28, Garden Gnomes and Garage Goblins, Taming the Outdoor Chaos. So welcome back to JJ's Declutter Podcast, where clutter meets its match. And sometimes that match is a rusty trowel hiding under a mountain of seed packets.
Today we're diving into the wild, overgrown world of garden sheds and garages. If your potting bench looks like a compost pile and your garage has come a goblin's horde, you're not alone.
That's why we're calling this one Garden Gnomes and Garage Goblins. Let's weed out what you don't use and make room for what really grows joy.
So, the Great Garden Tool Roundup. Once upon a time, a well-meaning gardener had 10 trowels, but couldn't find a single one when it was time to plant.
It's not lost, it's just spatially relocated.
So we have some tips for this as Julie laughs. No, 1, lay out all tools and group like with like. Diggers with diggers, pruners with pruners, sprinklers with sprinklers, etc. Toss anything rusted, busted, or crusted. Seriously. Clean, oil, and store in labeled hooks or tool racks.
So the JJ's tip off that was my favorite this time is if it's rusted, busted, or crusted, let it go, let it go.
And we have a little bit of Elsa here,
There you go.
along with the gnomes. So let's talk about pot hoarding and seed sprawl. Raise your hand if you got 47 plastic pots stacked like a leaning tower of terracotta. We do because my husband is a container gardener.
Gotcha. And half-used seed packets from 2017, or maybe it's 1917. Spoiler alert, those lettuce dreams are long gone. Although seeds do last, there's just not going to be as many that will, if they're stored dry, then there's just not going to be as many that will germinate later on. But I just planted some seeds that my aunt gave me from her garden over 20 years ago, and I just planted them last summer, and they grew
Wow.
fine and beautiful. So people talk about heirloom seeds, and that's what it used to be, was saving from your own garden and using again. Anyway, so there's that. And you can use a photo box or a binder for your seeds. You can date and label and discard the expired packets. Then you get into vertical shelving or hanging shoe organizers. And what I like about the hanging shoe organizers is they really don't take much space up. You can hang them on the door or behind something. But it'll hold all those hand tools. It'll hold your seed packets. It'll hold your gloves. So that is something that will, when you know that everything's together, it'll make it more enjoyable to go out and garden if you don't have to look for everything.
Now, my town, our local library, has a seed library. So you can take your library card and you can go and check out seed packets. So they keep track of the fact that you took some, but you don't have to bring the packets back. So something that you might want to look into see if your town offers that.
And one thing to keep in mind also, if you are on the whatever the food stamp thing is called now, SNAP, I believe. If you are buying seeds that are for vegetables, that you're growing food, that is covered by SNAP. So you can actually buy lettuce seeds, you can buy carrot seeds, those kinds of things.
That's
so
interesting,
that's really
because
cool.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it's nice.
Another thing is sort your pots by size and donate or recycle extras.
Right.
So we're going to talk about the Garage of Doom, DOOM, which is actually didn't organize, only moved. But it can also give you that bad feeling of, oh my gosh, what did I do in here?
Right.
So the garage was once a noble shelter for chariots. Now it's where old hoses, I almost said old hose, It's where old hoses, broken bikes, and mystery buckets go to retire. As Julie laughs and laughs and laughs. So
Okay, back to it. Well, I found 3 snow shovels, and I live in Florida.
you live in Washington. So our tips for this segment are use clear bins and label everything, because the last thing you want to do is go, oh, 6 months ago, I stuck something in there and I can see some of it, but I don't remember what else is in there.
Right.
And install ceiling racks for bulky seasonal gear.
So in our garage, we don't have, it's not high enough to have things hanging down from the ceiling rafters. Not ceiling, but rafters. And so we actually put things up the rafters. So we will wrap our Christmas tree in a big garbage bag and stick it up in the rafters. And so we have those kinds of things. The big witches that we hang out, they're wrapped in bags and the rafters. So
Your bags are wrapped inside along with the old hose.
Feels like Dexter wrapping everything. Oh my goodness. So anyway, yes, that's what we do.
And do you have pegboards for vertical
No,
storage?
we do, and we use them. It's nice to have that for the common things that you use all the time. And because they're out there, it's easy to find. So the tools that we have are pretty organized. My husband keeps them pretty organized. It's just all the other stuff in the garage that has gotten out of hand. And so
And big hooks actually work also, because we have big hooks. We don't necessarily have pegboards all around in our garage. We did.
Mhm.
My husband does use one where he used to have his workbench, but we have large hooks that he sticks shovels and all sorts of stuff. They're like what you put stuff on when you're building. They're called something horses. I can't remember what they're called now. What are they called?
It's a
What?
sawhorse.
Yes, well,
Sawhorse.
I can't. I was like, I know it started with it had a horse in it someplace. So he hangs those on these big hooks. Like we have them. He actually hung them over the door that comes into the house. So there better not be an earthquake, because those are going to hurt if they hit somebody as you're going into the garage.
Well, this woman would have been safe, but her husband had placed the sawhorse in an inappropriate place. And this woman is now in the hospital.
So let's talk about organization your garage using seasonal switch outs. So you don't need pool noodles out in January unless you take aqua aerobics like I do, or holiday lights in July. Let's go over some tips. Create seasonal zones and rotate access by quarter. Use color coded bins for seasons. A lot of people like to use blue for summer, red for winter, and green for things in the garden. So that would probably fall into mainly spring, but sometimes people are gardening in the fall too.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We're able to garden from February usually through the end of October into November.
Yeah,
We're
if
able
you
to,
if you live someplace where it doesn't have a lot of snow. And
right.
store the items where they're used. So don't keep your hose nozzle in the attic unless Julie doesn't, unless you're preparing for wildfires, and then you do have a actual hose in the attic and on the second floor. My husband is a preparer, let's just say.
My goodness. So let's go create your outdoor hub, shall we? Think of your garage or shed as a command center, not a storage graveyard. And the tips from this is, again, you want to set up zones. So have your garden things together and your tools together and your sports items, your projects that you're working on. You can use rolling carts or caddies to keep high use tools mobile. my husband found that didn't really work for him. Because he has things he has the things stored where he wants them, where they're easy for him to access. And it would be another step for him if something was on wheels somewhere else. So for us, that doesn't work really well, but I have seen, especially some of my senior friends, that they have it on wheels. So it's like a garbage can on wheels with all their big tools in it. So they don't have to lift anything. They can just roll it around.
Oh,
And
that's
so
actually a pretty good idea.
yeah, so that really helps. And then the other thing that we do is when we go out to, clip weeds and such, we use an old plastic snow sled, and it'll just glide right over the it's like a rectangle one, and it just glides right over the grass. So we just fill it with all the things that we're clipping and weeding and all that. And then it just pulls right out to the front. Even I can pull it when it's all full. It's amazing. So that's another little thing.
And we already discussed hanging frequently used tools on wall hooks. And
Right.
they're a good idea if they're at eye level rather than like in my house, everything's up. And fertilizer things and composting things. We've got a lot of stuff like that. Not the
Mhm.
composting stuff is mainly outside, but my husband used to make his own fertilizer. So we have our old Vita mixer in the garage because when you make fertilizer, it smells to high heaven. It'd be like, oh my God,
Yeah.
you fertilize outside because we would go, did the dog go out there? Does he have intestinal problems? I don't know. But composting, you have a lot of, it's not really clutter, but if you're doing it in stages, it requires a lot of space.
And if you're doing the composting where you're making the tea that you would be pouring onto your plants, that takes a lot more stuff. We just have a black compost bin, and I just dump things in there, stir it up every month or two, and it just breaks right down. So
Well,
and I do that because there's just the two of us and we don't have that much. Whenever I shred our papers, I put that in the compost bin, and then it breaks down really fast too. So because you need that brown material in your compost. But anyway, moving
so
right along.
whether it's a gnome invasion or goblin clutter, the key is maintenance.
Absolutely. Just do a 12-minute tidy each week, and that is going to prevent a 3-hour plus purge next season. So if you come in and you take care of it just a little bit each week, you'll be on top of it.
Thanks for joining us. Like, subscribe, refer friends to us if you
Yeah,
like this kind of silly help in decluttering and organizing and sometimes cleaning.
that's right. So let us know how you're doing, and we will see you again.
So until next time,
Keep it simple,
keep it intentional.
and as always, keep
Keep
decluttering.
decluttering.
We are
we're
going to
so
get
am-
this
we're
yet.
so amused by such simple things.